Good morning, good morning. It's on the bumpy road. It is Wednesday. Oh, I'm just gonna name this Wishful Wednesday. That's what I'm gonna say. Wishful Wednesday. Because there are some people out here wishing for things to happen to people that is not right. You know, I'm taking this week off, as I said, because I'm a woman of my word. But what I will not do is let someone else trigger me into a place that I don't want to be. I told you I would tell you tales from war. So I'm just going to give a quick intro to that. And it's going to be in parts because I wouldn't dare sit here and try to tell you about pretty much almost 2 years in one sitting. But anyway, in 1991, I think that's the correct year, 1991, Desert Storm, well, it didn't have a name, but there was conflict over in the Middle East, and it kicked off really bad August 2nd, which is my birthday. So I remember this distinctly because I was actually at the NCO club, which is if you've never been around military people, it's the non-commissioned officers club, which means anybody that's not an officer, that's where you go to hang out. But officers go in there, and we could go into the officers club under certain circumstances. So anyway, some friends of mine had said, hey, since it's your birthday, and we were there, I don't think I took the day off, so we were there after work, because normally what I'll do is take the day after off, you know, I was very much the partier back then, so I would have taken the day after off so that I could recuperate. So we are in the dining room because the club has like ballrooms and meeting rooms, and has a dining room where you can go and have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I mean, it's like a membership club kind of. So, hey, how's it? So I'm in there eating, and we're just enjoying ourselves, having drinks and eating dinner. And I don't remember who the person was, but somebody had came in, and they were mentioning to everybody in there that they had gone to war, that Iraq had invaded Kuwait, and the war had kicked off. And I remember saying this. I said, oh hell, those damn people are always fighting over there. Which probably wasn't the most nicest thing to say, but I said it. And little did I know what was going to happen after that statement. So, you know, I went ahead and kept on partying. I don't even know what I did for my birthday that year. Kind of blurry with everything that came upon afterwards. So that next week, we started hearing some rumblings and grumblings that the base that I was at, which is now closed, it was England Air Force Base in Louisiana, and we worked on the A-10s, C-10s, you know, I done got so old, I think it's A-10s, I'm gonna have to look that up, doggone it, because they had the Tiger on them, C-10, I forgot the damn aircraft. Anyway, I'll look it up. England Air Force Base, and I want to say, I don't remember it as well because my whole career I worked on F-15s, F-16s, and so that was my first time being at a base that it wasn't just for 15s and 16s. I mean, I worked on C-130s, helicopters, and things like that, but the main aircraft that was housed there. So I'm going to have to, it might be C-10. I'm going to have to look that up. So anyway, that was another shocker because I specifically went to that base because I didn't think that it had a commitment to going into conflict, because all the other bases that I have been to because I spent majority of my time overseas, had a commitment to being part of a conflict if it kicked off in that area. So I'm thinking Louisiana. I was thinking about getting out. I'm like, hey, easy breezy. I can just chill here, and then I make a decision whether I want to stay or get out. Well, we started hearing rumblings about something like we might have to go. And we were all thinking, why would we have to go? Well, the rumblings ended up becoming true. And it was because of the particular type of aircraft that we had, they were needed. And that is why we had to go. So now we don't know when we're going, because when they do these things like this, it's a lot of, it's sort of like gossip mill. Everybody's talking. You don't know what part is true, what part somebody made up. So it was like we were being told we was going to go to Egypt and all this stuff. Now, at this time, I didn't know that I was going. So they were just doing a lot of talking. In the shop that I worked in, because my job was called non-destructive inspection, which is, in the civilian sector, is called non-destructive testing. Which what we did was we were able to test different areas on the aircraft to let maintenance know, or the crew chief, whoever was over that aircraft, know when something was wearing down and they could do preventative maintenance. So it was a way of doing preventative maintenance. So we did things like eddy current, ultrasound, x-rays, magnetic penetrant, the biggest one, oil analysis. So oil analysis would be sort of like if you got a brand new car and you wanted to know when different parts of your engine was wearing down, what you could do is take a sample from the day you get it, and then maybe once a month you would just get things checked, or once every 90 days or 6 months, however you wanted to do it. And in the oil would be bits, microscopic bits of different parts of the metal, and we could tell by the percentage of metal in the oil what particular part would be wearing down, and we did that for aircraft engines. Dye penetrant, we would take parts off the aircraft and we would dip it in like green dye, dip it in emulsifier that would clean it off, put it under black light, and it would show the cracks and stuff in it green. Magnetic would be the same thing. We would just introduce, we would magnetize the part and we would sprinkle these like microscopic magnetic particles on the part, and they would go to the crack. Eddy current would be sending down a current into the part. Like I might go out on the aircraft and be on a wing, and we want to know if there's a crack in the wing, but we want to know how big the crack is. We could measure it. Ultrasound the same way. We could do the fluid levels. We could see cracks, let them know, because they could fly with cracks, a certain length and things like that. We would also x-ray for water entrapped in the wings, x-ray different parts of the aircraft. So yeah, it was a pretty intel job. At England, there was only 2 females. Yeah, me and one other lady. Yep, 2 females at that shop. There never was a lot of females in the area that I worked in. It just wasn't. A lot of women didn't go into that. And so it was me and one other lady. And so when it came down that England Air Force Base was going to have to go and be part of the people going over to the conflict, they decided how many people they're going to need from each area. So they knew that they were going to take us, and they decided, I can't remember, I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4 of us went out of 7. So when it came down time, my name was called. I was not happy about that because I didn't want to go. I had never wanted to go participate in a war, a conflict, or whatever they were calling it. So because the other female, her husband was military and they had one child, she was not able to go because at that time they were not taking both parents. They would only take one if they were both military, so that the children could have one parent that was still there with them. So her husband went and she was staying. There was another guy in my shop who wanted to go, and he was furious that he could not go. And I was like, hey man, you can take my spot. But my sergeant was like, no, he cannot, because he was having major issues between him and his wife, and he had not been very stable lately. And so his concern was taking him over there, something kick off even more, and him not being a good asset to having over there, during wartime. So that left me. So I went and talked to my captain, who was a female, and she pretty much told me, she said, let me tell you something. Because me and her played cards together and stuff. And she was like, B, that's what she called me. She said, if my ass got to go, so were you. So start packing up your duffel bag. So then I had to break the news to my family, and everybody's really shocked because other than my stepfather being in the Vietnam War and my dad being in the Vietnam War, nobody else in our family had ever gone to war, though we are a big military family. Take the people license plate. So I remember talking to my grandmother, and she was like, well, baby, we've never had a female in the family or a woman in the family go to war. Do you want me to call and talk to him? And I'm like, Grandma, that is not how that works. You don't get to call the commander and say, well, we were just thinking as a family that we've never had any females in our family go to war, so we thought that, maybe you guys could let Deborah get out of it. Nah, that wasn't happening. And I knew that. On the front end, I don't know if I was scared, nervous. I think more nervous because I didn't even know what to be fearful of. You know what I'm saying? If you never did something or never been to a certain place, you don't really know what to fully fear. I knew that it wouldn't be like hand-to-hand combat, or at least I was praying we didn't get to that, because if we did, then we really messed up. If the Air Force hadn't done their job and the Army and the Marines had not done their job, and they got to where I'm doing hand-to-hand combat, we got an issue. So, but I knew that with technology that, it would be different than like the Vietnam War. So anyway, they get us all where we don't know when we're going, how we're going, blah, blah, blah. So first they said we're going to Egypt. So I was like, okay, I'm thinking in my mind, let's see, this is how naive I was. I'm thinking it's going to be a regular TDY, which is temporary duty assignment, which, we did that a lot, where we took the jets to different terrain so they could learn how to, fly over it, the weather, shoot, drop bombs and things like that. So I'm thinking it's like that. So when they said Egypt, I'm thinking, I'm going to go see me some pyramids. So I'm like, okay. Then they changed it. It was like, no, you won't be going to Egypt. Then they said Saudi Arabia. Now, I know nothing about Saudi Arabia, except for I knew that the women didn't really have the right to do anything over there. And I'm like, but I didn't realize how restrictive it really was. So then they said, well, don't worry, you're going to Saudi Arabia, but you're only going to be there for 90 days. So this is still August. Now, I told you this kicked off August 2nd. We left before, I think within 2 to 3 weeks, we were over there. I want to say 2 weeks. It was before the end of August. So this is pretty, fairly quick for an assignment, because you're supposed to have your stuff prepared anyway and all that. But, people trying to tidy up things. If you didn't have stuff all together at home, a lot of people had maybe married somebody from another country and they had not really fully learned the language, or they didn't really handle all the business in the house. If you were a person that had a child, they really tried not to do single parents, because they were having to call in whoever said that they would be their the guardian of their children to take over them. If you were having issues in your marriage with your children, whatever the case may be, you did not have time to clean any of that stuff up. You had enough time to get you and your shit together, do as many arrangements as you can, and got to moving, because some people left before me. I think I was on the second wave. I want to say the second wave of people that went. And so here I am. I'm single, but I don't want to give up my apartment. So I had it where one of the other ladies that was going, her husband wasn't. He was staying. So I had wrote out checks, and he was just, because they lived across the street from me, and he was just going to pay my landlord. I had the water and the electric being turned off at a certain time. So all I was having to do was pay my rent. He had my car, but my mom and him were coming down to pick up the car and take it back to South Carolina. So that was the deal at that point. So all that being said, in about 2 weeks, I was on my way to Saudi Arabia. That was a long flight because we had to fly on the C-130. It's not like they gave us a nice, luxurious airplane to get on. Heck no, a C-130 is like, to me, it looks like a pregnant, big old blimp kind of. And the thing about that is, usually with you being on there, there's other cargo on there. They usually have pallets of, stuff that we're needing wherever we're going. But the bad thing about C-130 is, if they put the rows of seats in, you're flying backwards. So the plane is flying one way and you're sitting the opposite way. I always hated that. So we left from Louisiana and went to Germany, if I'm not mistaken. We went to Germany, and then we flew over to Saudi. I don't know, we might have made another stop. I can't remember, but I do remember flying into Germany. I do remember that. So I tell people that my first impression of Saudi Arabia, they open up, because the C-130 opens up from the tail, and it opens up like a big old mouth. And so they open it up, and they're coming to pull the pallets out so that we can get out. Of course, now we've been sitting in air condition. They open it up, and the heat, oh my gosh, the heat hits you, and it literally, I couldn't breathe. It just took my breath away. That's how extremely hot it is in that country. So me, I was not prepared for the heat. Nope, sure wasn't. And wasn't looking forward to it, because I'm not a person, and I live in South Carolina, but I'm not a person that likes when it gets really, really hot. So we get off, and so now this is how spoiled I am. I kind of thought of myself, I must have been like Private Benjamin. I don't know if any of you all have seen, that's an old movie with Goldie Hawn where she goes into the military. But that's kind of how I was, because I done got off the C-130 and I'm like, where's the terminal? Where's the terminal for the airport? Well, there was no airport. Well, there was an airport and there wasn't an airport. We were literally at an airport that had not been completed yet. We were at King Fahd International. They have been working on that airport for 10 to 15 years when we got there. Oh my gosh. The top of the terminal area was solid gold and all this stuff, but they didn't have really anything built. And so we had made our own makeshift land strip, and that's what we landed on. And they had a tent, or a tarp pretty much, over some poles, and that was our terminal. So now I'm looking like, okay, this ain't what I thought it was going to be. And it wasn't. I'm going to stop there because I am at Wally World, and I'm running in here real quick to get some things that I need, because you guys know that I will be going out on a trip not this weekend, the next weekend. I'll be going to Hawaii. So I'm running in here to get, some travel stuff that I might need. And I never go to Wally World anymore because it's just from here, it's horrible. The people are horrible, but they're cheaper, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that, pick up some items that I need, because I need to start packing ahead of time, because I know me. So yeah, let's see if I can do this in a quick hour and get back. So if I have time, since I'm working a modified shift today, I'll do part 2. All right. You guys have a wonderful Wednesday, and I will talk to you later. Bye.